Hello, everyone. My name is Filip Kalebo. I have been working together with the rest of the Liberland development team on the Liberland blockchain, which we launched very recently and is now up and running. So we're super proud of this. A bit about me. My name is Filip Kalebo. I'm originally from Sweden, but I left 4 years ago and then started traveling full time. I've been bouncing around a bit everywhere since. I run two companies, one called the Rust Syndicate and one called Fyro. Rust Syndicate is a company that basically is dedicated to the Rust ecosystem, Rust being the programming language. I have a background in IT security, and I don't really do a lot of IT security still. I used to work with penetration tests. You get a big bag of money and then the company says, hey, go hack us, and then you turn back with a report. So I get a bit frustrated because I'm not really doing a lot of pen tests anymore. So I started a podcast called Hacker Talk, where I get to bug my pen tester friends and we get to talk about IT security. So that's really awesome. I do a lot of Rust things and I'm really into Rust programming. If you don't know what Rust is, no worries, I have some slides about it. Rust is basically a very new programming language. And when I started looking around for like, what are the career sites out there and how can we like help the Rust as an ecosystem, I saw that there was no Rust hiring board. So I started my own. And one of my favorite quotes is from Naomi Brockwell, which is an amazing person. And she says, one of the most important things you can do is to give other people more economical freedom. And that's what I wanted to do with Rust.careers and also fuel the Rust ecosystem. That's a bit about me. So building a blockchain to serve Liberland, it's a bit hard and it's also been very fun. There's a lot of interesting design decisions because Liberland is actually the first country in the world to run on a blockchain. So there's no like how-to guides on the internet on how to do this. But I've been involved in the blockchain space since 2014 and been working on various projects from and to. And I've been seeing some come and go. Some of the design patterns that we wanted to use and principles was that we wanted to use an audited framework. So we wanted to use code that actually has been looked at by other people and they can tell us that this is bug-free and this is not going to cause us giant problems. We're also very proud to implement safe cryptography standards. We're implementing Ristretto. Ristretto is an amazing cryptography framework adopted by Signal and Facebook for zero knowledge proofs. Everyone should check that out. So what we decided to do was to use Substrate. Substrate is this battle-tested blockchain framework that got started in 2016, 2017 there by Polkadot. And it's currently being run by a lot of different projects running on using the Rust programming language. So we wanted to use something that was secure at the base level, which we found to be Substrate. We wanted to use it to serving merits and all its functionality. We wanted it to be very customizable and support custom features, such as we have now when you have different roles. You can be a citizen, you can be an e-citizen, and so on. And we also wanted an easy to use interface for the end user.
I'm sorry, I have to mute. I need to listen to the presentation. This is my.
Okay, go continue, Filip. You're good.
Yeah. So we basically wanted to create the first country to run on the blockchain and all the governance services. So a bit about Substrate. It was founded by this guy named Gavin Woods. And who is Gavin Woods, you might ask? He's the guy that basically wrote the first Ethereum implementations. So he's a guy that's been really into the space for a really long time. And then because of his leadership and he managed to build some good businesses and cash out, he's now fully focused on building this framework basically for the Web3 and with the goal of decentralizing trust. It's been adopted very nicely because of the nicely underlying infrastructure currently used in over 166 projects. 43 of those are actually running blockchains right now. All projects together have looked in a large amount of capital, 3 billion, just to participate. as a blockchain running the substrate network is pretty cool. And also the Rust programming language is being used. And Rust programming language is this secure language that was developed in, I think it's less than 10 years, but basically a big problem that we have in modern day computing is that once a program gets run, it gets put in a small box, you can say. And you can think of it like Super Mario. Your program basically has what's called an allocated piece of memory. And if you jump outside of that block, just like you jump outside in Super Mario, bad things can happen, such as it can do stuff it's not supposed to do. But with the Rust programming language, we're able to mitigate a majority of these bugs, which is amazing. And I love doing the video game references, because the person I work with who's gonna watch this later is gonna really enjoy it. So the Rust programming language, yes, is basically, you can think of it like Snake. You have a small box that you run your program in, and if it goes outside that box, it dies. And also, once it's done using that box, it just disappears, the memory disappears. Yeah. So that's a bit about Rust. Let's talk about consensus types. So there's all these types of consensus algorithms. And what is consensus in blockchain? It's basically a way to agree upon blocks. How do we make sure that the next block is legit and contains the legit transactions and so on? So for this approach, we choose nominated proof of stake, which I think is a really, really good choice. But there's different types of consensus types. There's proof of work, which is used by Bitcoin, and it relies on heavy computer calculations in order to calculate the numbers to participate for winning blocks. You have proof of stake, where basically you have an algorithm that says that all these trusted nodes that run the network, let's choose a random one of these people, and then let's just give them a block. And then you have proof of authority, which is a kind of a subdivision of proof of stake, which it's the same thing as proof of stake, but it's all centralized. And we didn't want to go with a centralized solution because, yeah, that's why run a blockchain if it's centralized. So we went with nominated proof of stake, which basically allows everyone to run a validator and earn blocks based on this reputation. So nominated proof of stake is when the network is run by special validator nodes, and these get changed out once a day, depending on who you as a user think is creditable to run the network. So you actually lock in your money, and then you tell them, hey, I trust these people. And when they get a block, you get a kickback. And that's actually a compounded interest, which is very nice. I've been running blockchain nodes a bit. I started digging around in 2014 and 2015. And actually here on the right side, you see that's actually my old Bitcoin node, and both the hard drives failed in it. And it's this ugly thing that was just eating electricity. But time changed. So thanks to proof of stake, we're able to actually run nodes a lot cheaper. You can buy a Raspberry Pi at the current market price of $40 plus a hard drive. And yeah, so hardware is becoming a lot nicer, which makes it easier to scale. Another concept is nominator, which you will hear a lot in the proof of stake word. And then nominator is basically someone that locks in the funds to choose a validator and then earns compounded interest based on that. So Polkadot has been running this for a while, and it's been going pretty good, and they've been testing it. And basically here is how it looks when you pick a validator. You get all the information about the validators, about the nodes that are running the network. You can see the return, that would be the yearly return of interest of the amount of capital that you lock into it. And you can see how much is staked and its network capabilities. So technical demonstration. So it's really easy to run these nodes because of the proof of stake algorithm. So let's jump in how you can run a node. So what we've been, I hope I'm not running over time here.
You're good. I mean, we'll keep
okay.
Keep sharp, but keep doing your thing.
Awesome. So everything that we have developed and produced is public on GitHub. You can you can store it, comment it. You can pretty much everything is under the MIT license, which is amazing. So check that out on GitHub, and it's super easy to run a node as well if you're technical or familiar with Linux. Me myself, I'm a big Linux consumer. So this is gonna look a bit like the matrix here. But basically what you want to do is you want to just copy this directory, the Liberland Git repository, and then you want to execute a command called cargo build a release. I've already done this because it takes like 25 minutes, so I did this before. And once that is produced, all you need to start the binary with that gets produced with a couple of flags. All this is automatic. You can automatically find scripts in the GitHub repository to automatically do this. So let's try spinning up a node, which this should be right. And if we look at telemetry, this is a public website as well that's linked in the GitHub. Here is basically some statistics about the node. We had to restart the chain pretty recently, so there's not a lot of nodes right now. You can see there's 2 validators that are online, and we have 27,000 blocks. So let's see if this node gets registered, and we should be able to customize the name. And then we should, I'm just gonna remove the old blockchain. How do I move this soon? Okay, so Liberland node. We're just gonna start that, and that's gonna run our blockchain locally. And if we're super lucky, it will get registered here as an official node on the network. And there it is. Woohoo!
Live tutorial.
Yeah, and it's working. It's not failing. Awesome. So yeah, and now what this is doing is basically syncing all the data, all the blocks, and you can now view it locally and use it locally, which is awesome. All these links are in the GitHub repository for anyone to check out. Something also cool to look into is our Polka.js app, where you can interact with the network. You should absolutely go around there and click around, and then you can see the chains and the blocks and everything. Everything is linked in the GitHub GitHub repository. So take part of Liberland's blockchain. If you're an e-citizen, you can run a validator and you earn tokens for running these validators. If you're a programmer, please contribute code to us. We're on GitHub. Please check out Polka.js. Check us out on GitHub. Here is the link right here. Future. There's so much in store for the future. We're planning on doing land registration on the chain, and because of Substrate as a native framework, we're able to scale a lot, which is amazing. So I'm really excited about the future and all the features that we're going to implement. And yeah, I'm also would like to thank, I'm not alone in developing and spinning up this network. We have Dorian and all the other Max and everyone else that is part of the Liberland development team. So thank you so much for everyone in the development team and the Liberland team for all the hard work of spinning up this pretty quickly.